Hey, lovely Stella students. Great to be here, week 3 already. And hopefully you've had a look in the portal to see what work you've got and the videos that have already been recorded for you. So, tonight I wanted to just sort of reiterate some of the things that are set for this week, and also I know that some of the things that are set for you can be quite challenging around narrowing down your services, understanding how to select, excuse me, how to sort of identify who needs them and how to word them in such a way that your ideal client can identify that this is the solution to their pain. So, if you're in the call at the moment, please comment so I know that you're there. And if you're listening to the recording, feel free to make comments. But just hi Claire. But if you listen to the recording, let me know what you're responding to, because I can't tell when I see your comments if you just write, oh my god, yeah, or what do you mean? Like, I won't know what part of the video you're talking about. So the first thing is that we had a look at all of the different services that virtual assistants can offer. And as I mentioned right at the start, the industry has expanded so much over the last few years. The amount of services that are available is just absolutely phenomenal. I could easily add, hi Lee, hi Jacinta. I could easily, hi Narelle, add to the 123 things to outsource to a VA ebook, but I couldn't be bothered, so I haven't. But hi Kelly. So but you can see from that how broad it is. It's massive. So even just saying something like I'm a generalist VA is quite confusing nowadays. So it's important to be really clear about what pain it is that you ease. So having a look at that list, and I'm hoping that you kind of just ignore most of it and pick out one or two things that you're really good at. And to help you with that, we've got the Love What You Do spreadsheet. Now, I created the spreadsheet. I was thinking about it today. I think I created it about 10 years ago, when I was at a point in my business where I was getting really frustrated, I was getting really overwhelmed. I had quite a few clients. They were all different, but they all tended to be community-based type groups, whether it was Chamber of Commerce, Rotary. Sorry, my vocal cords are being really horrible today. Um, Allied health type services. So I had a couple of practitioners, and then I had a whole lot of website jobs. And I was like, when the phone rang, I'd just be like, oh God, I don't even know who I am right now. So I created the spreadsheet so that I could really just get out of my head what I work on, and actually went through, when I did it, I went through all of my invoices for the prior probably 3 to 6 months, and I put everything that I had listed in my invoices. And at that point, I was breaking them down fairly well. Um, and so it was easy to see, and it was charged out by the hour. So I could say how how many hours have been spent doing that sort of stuff. So the percentage of my week, and also because it was hourly, I could calculate what the rate was. So I could see where I was making money and where I wasn't, where I was spending time and where I wasn't. And then in the final columns, I started to determine how each of those activities made me feel. And I needed to see whether I was spending my time doing the stuff that actually made me feel good. Clearly, I wasn't. So I changed things around. And you know what happened? I did that spreadsheet, and at that point, I had been doing a lot of work with the Chamber, with Rotary, with Allied Health and things like that. So having to know everything about everyone's business for quite a few years. And I'd gotten to the point where I just didn't want to know everything about everybody's businesses, and have to, whenever I picked up the phone, we didn't have the sort of software you've got now where all the info can just pop up on your screen and stuff like that if you're doing reception. So I had to just know all of the stuff, and I was just sick of it. And I think at that point I might have had a newborn as well, so add that to the mix. And I decided Actually, no, I wouldn't have even had her yet. So this is older than 10 years because she's 10 years old. I decided I really wanted to focus on websites and building on my graphic skills, which were very basic. I've always been creative and I like art, but I wasn't trained in graphic design. Next thing you know, I have an opportunity appear once I've done the spreadsheet and I can clearly see where I want to focus my attention. I dead set got offered a business. I had someone who I still do a lot of work with now, but I won't say who just for privacy purposes, who said, you know what, Rosie, and I'd been working, we had a couple of joint clients because she just always had faith in my services, more faith than I ever did, I have to say. And she said, I'm decided I'm going to retire and I want you to take on my clients. And by the way, this is what I charge per hour. I charge 100 plus GST per hour, and it's all web work and design work, and I want you to take it on. I was like, at that point, I was charging, I think, $45, $50 an hour. I think about 50. And I just went, oh my God, are you serious? And she goes, well, I expect you to maintain that rate. And I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. And so I ended up getting all of her clients. So we did a sale, purchased all of her clients for a ridiculously low amount, and I got her hard drive with all of her working files. And that opportunity would not have come my way if I hadn't have clarified where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do with my business. I firmly believe that. Now, the funny thing was, a few years later, probably about, oh, I'm not sure how many, maybe 4 or 5 years later, I got sick of those clients because my attention span's clearly short. And I just went, oh my God, I'm just so sick of these jobs, because some of them were maintenance jobs for her web clients. And they were really, I was just getting sick of them. And they would appear every now and then for work, and it was boring work, or it was work I just didn't like the style of. And I started thinking, you know what, I'm not really into these at the moment. I really want to focus on Virtually Yours. And at this stage, actually, it was quite a few years in, so I'd been doing website stuff for quite a long time, and I kept doing it after that for a fair while. However, I didn't want those clients anymore. Next thing you know, so when I started clearing out all my files and working out who I had and who I didn't really want to work with and everything like that, so I did another version of the Love What You Do spreadsheet, which was just physically sorting out all my stuff. And I get a message from her, I kid you not, the next day saying, oh, and I also fired my Chamber of Commerce client that day. Next day, she goes, actually, I fired them the day before she gave me the jobs. So this is down the track. She says, retirement's not for me. I've decided to come back and do some more work. Just wanted to give you a heads up. I'm like, do you want them back? Like, they're all still looked after. They've all been looked after. They're fine. Some of them obviously would prefer to work with her because, she's got a specific style and everything anyway. And I said, do you want them back? And she's like, really? Yeah, okay, cool. So I just handed them back. And then I sort of shifted my focus again. So I cannot underestimate the value of taking the time to work out what you love. Kelly says, I love this spreadsheet. Fantastic exercises, really making me focus and think about what I enjoy. It will take a while to complete, but score system is just perfect. I'm so glad because, yeah, it just worked. Like I had to get it out of my head, and it's probably my favorite template that I've ever created because it speaks to the universe and it helps you get that clarity. So when you know where you want to go, oh my gosh, everything's so much easier when you can go, all right, I don't have to do everything. How about I pick the top 2 things that I love and I make them amazing. I make it so that I'm known for those 2 things. You could be a PowerPoint genius, like whatever it is. Just stick with the things that give you 20 out of 20 and focus on that. And then down the track, if you feel like it's not quite gelling anymore, do it again and pick what your next list is, because you can always, yeah, it was so meant to be. You can, and I still do work with her to this day. You can always shift your focus in your business, and that is one of the biggest gifts. It is hard to run your own business. You're going to have a lot of challenges, but you can always change the menu. I was talking to a friend the other day about how much we hate people changing menus in restaurants. However, um, you can change the menu, and I have. My favorite clients over the years were ones that said, what do you love working on now? What can I send your way that you love working on now? They would literally say that. And I would feel so blessed. But if I didn't know what I wanted, I wouldn't be able to answer them, right? So that's why I've got that. Now, the other one is kind of more of it's almost like an interview process that you would use to, and I'd like to kind of work on it and enhance it a bit, but the Uncover Your Skills one is kind of one that you could even use to develop a resume or something like that, where you kind of nut out, okay, this is what I'm most productive doing. This is what I have been doing in the past. This is what I get lost doing, and, just helps you kind of unravel that thinking. So, it's just a little bit of a process there to help you out. And then the rewording your outcomes is really hard for a lot of people to get their heads around. And so if you get stuck with this one, don't feel like it's you. It is everyone. And I wish I had a better way to help you come up with the answers. But, sometimes this is the thing that you come to me for your one-to-one session and we nut out, because it may appear a lot clearer to me what the outcome could be than it is to you, because you're so involved in it, you're so close to it. And that's one of the things about running your own business. I can't mentor myself. I'm too close to the project. So be okay with getting outside support to help you nut things out, because that step away is really going to help with perspective. So with rewording your outcomes, the reason being is that if you said, you might become famous as the PowerPoint presentation person, and that's absolutely fine, right? So say we said that because I mentioned it before. But what are the outcomes with that? What is the outcome for someone if they have an amazing presentation? What are the risks if they don't? If they've got a really shit presentation, if they've got to get out there, stand up in front of a crowd and present, there's so much risk in having a crappy PowerPoint presentation, right? I mean, I've had typos in mine and it drives me mental, because I'm always presenting, 50% of the time I'm presenting to virtual assistants. And of course, they're going to pick up the typos, right? So they look at me like, how could you be a VA? But it's because I'm a lion and I just get things done, and I don't always send stuff to my team to proofread, and I should, because they pick those things up so well. But I'm impatient, right? However, my slides look really, really nice. I try to make them look really, really nice and professional and branded and all that sort of thing. Now, a lot of people can't do that. A lot of people don't know how to simplify PowerPoint so that they're guided by it, but they're not reading off it. So, if you're thinking about watching someone and there's a whole lot of things wrong with their presentation, and this is what you want to specialize in, is supporting people to present well in terms of, their lead up to their presentation. Let's focus on their presentation. So what people are calling them slide decks now, because, we have to have a new wanky way to say things. I remember someone telling me about my slide decks. We'll get slide decks created for you. And I'm like, what the hell does that mean? It's just my PowerPoint slides. Whatever. Anyway, so, if you say that's what you rock at, and I reckon if you did that, you would kind of work out the other little elements that would bring a whole package together. You can save someone from immense pain around confidence, around delivery, around connecting with their audience, with professionalism and credibility, right? So these are they're all pain points. And so when you're looking at, I do PowerPoint, and turning it into, I can ensure that your audience is focused on you, believes your credibility, can understand your message, and supported by a quality slide deck, that's going to be much more relevant to your audience than I do PowerPoint presentations. So that's where I want you to kind of flip it on its head and go, okay, well, why? What's the purpose? All right, Jacinta, I love looking at the list of VA services. It gives me inspiration. I really love general administration, customer service, and simple documentation, but I feel this isn't enough to offer and is too general and not specialized. Okay, cool. So we're going to be talking about niching tonight, so it's a good time to bring that up. So I might jump over to niching now, actually, if you've got that question there. So when you are great at doing that sort of stuff, so you're looking at the general admin, so making sure all the T's across the I's are dotted, systems, processes, formatting, and all that sort of stuff, I'm guessing. Customer service is massive, but it's not enough to offer. Well, then you think about that. That is a service area. When you start looking at trying to avoid being too general, you consider your audience rather. So if you want to be offering that sort of stuff, when you state it like that, it seems very general. But if you have a particular audience, so say you suddenly went, well, actually, yeah, no, but I'm only going to be doing that for animal services, right? So administration, customer service, and documentation for animal services doesn't sound too general now, does it? It's suddenly very targeted. So when your service is very general, you need to make your marketing easier. I do recommend that you then bring your that make sure that the group that you're I can't even speak, the group that you're targeting is really clear. Okay, so you might say I do administration, customer service, and documentation. Although I think documentation often comes in under general administration, unless you're looking at policies and procedures, you can add that in, for allied health services or for influencers, save yourself, or for coaches, or, and when you say coaches, I would narrow it down again further, what sort of coaches, or for personal trainers, or for speakers, authors, trainers, writers, I don't know, also tradies. When you start thinking about, okay, well, who would I work best with? What area can I really be amazing at supporting with these services? You might end up working with a few different types, but I do recommend that you either narrow down your services to be really clear and succinct, or the people that you're offering it to. Does that make sense? And do you have, you're looking at, I've got to make sure I don't mix people up, and I don't have the documents here, but you're looking at the people who are making a big impact, right, on our planet. So administration, customer service, and documentation for CEOs and board members, and those people that are high flyers, who are highfalutin, big money spinners, philanthropists. Target philanthropists, So then that becomes more clear. So with the niching area, the side of things, you can niche, you can go either way. So, we've got a few examples in the portal. So for example, Lyndall Harris, she offers services to everybody, but it's podcasting. So the service is specific. It's really, really specific, podcasting. And she was brave, and she did that right at the start of our podcasting journey. So when it was all still new and fresh, she's like, this is gonna be big. I'm gonna make it my thing, because she was fairly general before that. And now she is the podcast VA, right? Other people will specialize. So what else have I got in there? There's the Pinterest services. There's social media services, but people tend to be like either specializing in a particular platform, or maybe two platforms, and make sure that they kind of get their head around, if possible, advertising as well, and strategy. So Jacinta's just said, yeah, it makes sense. Documentation such as PDF editing, creation, policy, manuals, etc. Looking at allied health, natural health practitioners. Perfect. There you go. And so as soon as you say that, you're like doing all the back end management for allied health and natural health practitioners. It's very clear. And I can visualize instantly what your brand could look like, the kind of colors, because you would appear, you'd want to be appealing to those people that are doing the allied health type stuff, right? And they're usually very holistic, and really caring people. You know, they're just, I mean, I used to work in allied health and they were just really good people. So, and they don't make a gazillion dollars. So I was wrong with that. That must have been Kelly. Um, they they're doing it for the love of it, and you know they want to get the message out. They want people to feel safe and secure, and so you're going to be helping them do that with, especially if you can do the customer service, because that's really important in what they do. Follow-ups, making people feel safe and welcome, making sure that they're healthy. So yeah, awesome. Other people will specialize, yeah. So that would be specializing in the industry, as opposed to Lyndall specializing in podcast, right? So another example would be Leanne Woff. She's in the Viva Network. She specializes on building brands that want to be massive. So making empires, businesses into empires. So she wants a certain type of person who wants to make things strong and powerful, empires. So they've got to have a certain guts behind them. They've got, you know, and then she's delivering a process and some solutions to them for that particular pain point. Kelly, okay, cool. You've both been really awesomely interactive and sharing. So I'll going to mix them up. I'll try not to mix them up. I really do. I love it though. I love what you share. Okay, so the things that you need to know about your audience. Now, we're going to be talking more about ideal clients down the track because we can never talk enough about that. However, to get you started when you're looking at your services, your offerings, is so much easier. So if you're looking at that and you're going, okay, I want to do documentation and all that sort of stuff, and you're trying to figure out who to offer it to and how to communicate that. So let's look at Jacinta's, for example. What should you know? What is their pain point? So with allied health, natural health practitioners, often I've found over the years that they're not exactly tech heads, and they're not awfully amazing with administrative processes. And even if they were, their most valuable activity, it's important to know what your most valuable activity is. Theirs is their sessions with their patients. Whether it's group sessions or one-on-one, depends on what they're offering. But that's their most valuable activity. There are other things that are not so valuable necessarily, but they have to do, which is like networking and, you know, presenting at times and all that sort of thing. So interviews, whatever it might be. But for them, their most valuable activity is doing the actual sessions, and then they find, you know, if they're doing enough of those to make ends meet, they're having to do all of that other admin, horrible stuff for them, the tech stuff. It's either not getting done or it's getting done slowly, badly, and out of hours. So a lot will not have a very good social media presence. They won't have a great, they won't know how to do advertising for social media. They might not have consistent policies and procedures, or they might not even have a strong brand behind them, or they might not know how to use that brand to provide a consistent and comforting kind of delivery. So you want to have, you know, if you go into a practice, you know, when people give you, you go in to get like a dodgy massage and they give you a sheet of paper and there's no branding on it or anything like that, and it's just kind of almost feels like it's handwritten and it just doesn't feel like quality. Whereas if you go into a place that's giving, you know, a dietitian, for example, and it's all this beautifully laid out, consistent branding, consistent colors, no typos, quality, everything, they're going to be able to charge more per hour. So not only are they not having the pain of doing things badly and out of hours when they're exhausted, but they're going to be able to have a more credible and professional feel. So what do they need to know about you? So this is the next question. They need to know that you exist. They need to know what you can do for them. So you need to list off what are the things that they need to know before they would even come to you. So one, they might not know VAs exist, or they may not know that you exist. They may not know what the next step would be. They may not know what's possible for their business, that they could be doing all that stuff. Like the things that I just said then, they may go, oh, never even thought of that. How would I do that? And so then do they know that they don't know these things? So they might not know where to go. They might not know what to do next, but they might not know that they don't know that. So how far back do you need to go? Okay, so that's a fun question. And that's, it's about educating your audience. Where would, if they know that they don't know, where would they go to source their answers? You need to be there. You need to be there with the answers. So whether that's, they would ask friends and family, you need to make sure that those friends and family know about you. If they would go to social media and like allied health and practitioners, I mean, they tend, depending on the age group where they're delivering, they might be on social media. They might be in certain health related platforms or groups. So you'd have to think about where they might be. They might also be attending a lot of self-help or growth or training programs. Can you tap into those? How are they currently set up? So the ideal client that you're looking for, do they have people that are working for them? Do they have a receptionist? Do they who's sitting there in the office or not? Are they answering their own phones? It's going to message bank or whatever. Do they have a bookkeeper? Do they have someone who's done their graphics for them? What have they got? And then you can work out what the gaps are. So they are the key questions that you want to try and find the answers to, because if you know those, you know your marketing. If you know those, you can go to any copywriter and say, can you write me my website for me? Okay, cool. Yes, sweet. Okay, so those are, that's part of your homework for this week. It's a lot to ask. It's a lot to get your head around. But I find that there's a lot of holding back and fear around working out what the offering is, because people think, well, what's it worth? If I'm doing documentation and policies and stuff like that, I mean, is it, as you said, is it enough? Well, I'm pretty sure, even just from what I said then, that we know that's enough for allied health and that would be so valuable for them. So it's about thinking of that whole process, that whole reason and the outcome that then will give you the confidence to go, oh, cool, that will then go, shit, I can own this. I can make that difference to my people just by doing this thing that I love, because I got 20 out of 20 for those things and I love it, and to me it's easy. For them it is a massive pain point, and this is why, and this is what they could be doing with their time, and this is what they are doing, and it's not good. So know the good and the bad, what they fear, what they yearn for, what they're doing, what they're not, shouldn't be doing, and the impact. So just doing those things, the impact, as I said, not working evenings and early mornings and weekends, and being able to charge more because you look more professional, because you're delivering professional, because you've got someone following up the customers to go, hey, how did you pull up? How are you finding that? Did you have any questions? Or SMS, did you have any questions about that disgusting Chinese tea that I gave you? All these ideas that you could come to them at so that the experience for their customers is amazing. It's exciting. I liked Allied Health. But you can do that for any industry, right? Not you, Jacinta. You stick with yours. Anybody else, like if they're going with tradies, what is it that, why? Why do they need you? Do they need you for sorting out all of their quotes and crap like that? Like, because Allied Health aren't doing quotes. Tradies are doing quotes. They do quotes out the wazoo, and then they've got to follow up with them and see whether they've got the job or not, and then juggle everything and have their stock and supplies and so much stuff that I would hate to do. And they've got to juggle all that all within this sort of crazy hours that they already work. A lot of the time their partners will end up having to help them out, even though that's not their passion. And, it's tough. And if they've got someone there that goes, yeah, I know this industry, and we can just totally set all this up. We're going to get you onto service, mate. We're going to set this up beautifully for you. We'll take the calls for you. We'll do this, we'll do that. And then you can focus on, this is what you need to do. This is what you do. And this is what we do. And then you can totally hang out with your family at night. I know, Jacinta. I haven't had it for about 15 years yet. It just popped up in my head then when I thought about it. That's how gross it is. supposedly really good for you, but if it's that gross, you kind of don't drink it. So, so any more questions about this week's topic? And remember, you can keep posting them in the group. But tonight, do you have any questions? Does that help you understand why you've got those particular assignments and downloads? Does that help you move forward with clarity around your business? I've got hold music in my head. That's why I do that. It's always the same hold music. If you've done this course before, you know that I use is it the little girl from Ipanema? The Blues Brothers elevator music. No questions? Okie doke. So what happens next is that I go, all right, see you later, have a good night, and then the question will pop up after I've said good night, because that's how Facebook rolls. Don't worry, I will keep an eye on the questions and I will type any answers that come up. Okay, so thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Yeah, hopefully you found that helpful, and it helps you with those resources that you've got this week. And we can kind of start, send through anything that you come up with. If you work through the documents, send them through. I really love reading them and seeing, what's evolving and seeing any blocks that you might have, and helping you work through them. So, cool. Kelly says, all good for me. I think the next answers will come in the following weeks. Questions in my head. Yeah, I know exactly what that sentence means. So many notes, and I'm excited to work on the documents. Yay! Woohoo! Cool. Well, I'm excited to see where you go with it, and I will speak to you again very, very soon. Thanks, guys.